Hello everyone, this is Esper and we're back here on the Great Ace Attorney. Hello everyone. So last time we started chapter 4. So we're investigating this woman that got stabbed. She's not dead, surprisingly. So we're on the lookout for Sherlock Sholmes is who we're looking for. We've got to go get gotta go get like the address or something from the head police guy. The guy with the magic fish and chips. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on their investigation. Perfect! So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. And as always, I'm sorry if I say something incorrect or wrong. Sometimes I jumble up my words. Sometimes I don't say something perfectly, but we do our best. We have fun still. So, yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at the silver tip Iris gave us for him. Present him with this. I hope that music's not too loud. Here, let me drop it down a hair. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gagabouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson? What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship?
Give that here at once, come on, hand it over, that's for me.
Don't wait for me to give it to you, will ya? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's an appearance fee, that's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see, you mean... That's right, for the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me every time. Yes, of course, I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still. I'm very sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. The magic fish and chips. Gotcha. There we go. You never mind that. So, what do you want to know then, huh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black wherever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, far away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ah, the little knife-wielding mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in the right old hovel. It's just over there, look. He was living in that broken-down place? On the first floor of the house on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle propped up? That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garadeb. Right, well, if you see her again, make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. And live long, her ladyship. Okay, so he respects the girl, but doesn't like Sherlock Sholmes. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Okay. Go inside here. New location's been added. Yep. Oh. May I help you? Ah, yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Garredeb? Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Rinosuke Naruhodo. I am... Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. Oh. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. Oh, she looks shocked each time. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garredeb. Did you see that, Miss Susato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staffs. But that was the first time I'd ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete. We met the... Well, I guess he was a waiter, not a butler. This guy hacks at blood. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garredeb, we'll see you now. This way. Look around. There's a full-size cannon. What's it doing in here? Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica. That's old. That old thing? Bah, that's little more than a toy. Sorry. The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to use a cannon about the house. Really? It isn't overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world's going to throw at you next, boy. Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garredeb? Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon here, Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack? No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garredeb. Do you enjoy reading? Ever experienced a London winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book. Oh, here's a copy of Rance magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garredeb enjoys the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, too. The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing! Pah! Not much better than rags, really. Oh? Wore that ceremonial garb to my retirement bash, you know. I'm not one for dwelling on the past me. Would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have an odd piece of memorability lying around, does it? Oh, I see. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous! Ah, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing there? Ah, those old things. Couple of things. Little rounds I accidentally fired in the barracks during training, you know. Became colorful regiment folklore, that incident. You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells? Well, I wouldn't say deliberately, exactly. They're only scrapped iron after all, usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might become useful, do you? Useful for what exactly? He's stirring his tea with his pipe. Well, yes, well. Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting. Oh no. I hadn't shed a tear since 1869 before that, you know. Maybe we could start throwing them away. That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner. It's all crooked, though. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me that it's not straight. What? That old thing? Sorry. Should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The well is the best place for it. Keeps the bloody thing out of my way. It's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose. There appears to be an inscription on the metal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation. Sounds like the kind of honors even I would be in line for. Participation reward. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals. To his name, of course. Common knowledge is military circles. Picture of himself? That portrait of Mr. Garadeb is glaring at me, I swear. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garadeb as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. Ah, yes, seems to come back from the local pawnbroker. Seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket. Seemed to come back? What do you mean? The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something. He came out with that thing. Point of fact, now that I think about it, I'd rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need. The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements. Susato's son doesn't pull or punches, or throws for that matter. We got more to the right-hand side too, it looks like. Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a quick peek. Ahem, ahem. Maybe let's not miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. Oh, look! What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand. They're messed, though. Lined up? It looks more like someone has half demolished them to me. Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It is quite the English way. If it is Mr. Garadeb's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful. Oh, wait a minute, though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand. Well, naturally, and it would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Garadeb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up. However magnanimous of you. This old candle holder looked a little out of place here, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's not almost completely black for some reason. That old thing? Yes. Just a cheap piece of ironmongery. Grimcrackery. Used it when I was studying, you know, for my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to really, but, well, still has its uses sometimes. Of course. Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it? They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories. Look at this crockery on display here. Rather unusual, isn't it? Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken, the crockery is... oh dear. It's in pieces. It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that Chinaware justice. Aha! I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it. Yeah, it's probably something like that. Let's not delve too deeply here. Is that all of everything? The window. Hello, Ooh Leader! Well, they was calling the Chinaware crack pottery. Maybe crack pottery? It did almost sound like crockpot, but no, not crockpot. How are you doing, Ooh Leader? Have you had a great weekend? This window looks over our bright road where the young woman was attacked. Oh yes, I can just make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene. The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly. Does this thing open at all, I wonder? I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of London winter, sir. Sorry? As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go open the windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you. Seems very unlikely that these two would have seen anything in the instant, then. Okay, I think we've looked everything. Kane? It's probably with him. Good day to you, John Garadeb at your service. Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Rinosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to a knee a few years back in the Battle of Maiwand, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-coming. So he's a retired soldier. It's a job to get up and down the stairs now, I can tell you. Don't get out much, as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo. Ugh, do you think so? Well, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! Dash it all, woman, be careful. Oh, dear me, I do beg your pardon, sir. Huh, you jolly nearly took the skin off my hands. I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs. Is that right? Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us. Only too pleased, naturally, especially if it helps keep the peace here in Blightly. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, I'm sure you're aware, so this case is very much in the public eye, as it were. Oh, it is? Yeah, she just did scold him. Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business. Oh, but you have a copy of Rance magazine here, so... Oh, no, Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak. Yes, we get to see him again. So he's in Soseki-san's room. It's a nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's a jolly unsettling. About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garadeb. Please, do tell us. Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then. I have 2 lodgers most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see. Oh! Ah! Dash it all, Joan, do be careful. She did it again. I wonder if she's trying to hush him up about stuff. Oh, my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. She's got a lot of tea in that pot. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh, why? He seemed to have the most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady running across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I asked myself, Joan, if that man is trouble, sooner or later he's going to do something untowards. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Is there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Yes, oh yes, indeed there was. And she's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? Oh my words, yes, the man was shadier than an orchid. An orchard. Not orchid. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is, more than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I hadn't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to the old bookshop every single day, comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house is gone to bed too. Oh, I see. Gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed all around at around 9 each night. I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning. Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh. I understood that neither of the lodgers lived on this floor of the house. Is that correct? That's right, yes. They're both below us on the first floor in the street level. Then, how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Good grief, John, be more careful, woman.
Oh my goodness, sir, I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Something doesn't add up here.
Seems that the incident took place about 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time?
The window?
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far right side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadeb household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I shouldn't think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seemed unrelated.
Well...
Yes, was there something else then?
Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time in here, I don't like this mate. She keeps cutting him off. Joan, watch what you're doing!
Oh dear me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir. That's a magic pot of tea. It just keeps coming.
Do be more careful, woman.
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Naro Hollow?
Yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really, Mr. Garadeb?
What you were talking for, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... Joan, dash it all, what is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down for a quite uneventful meal. Joan?
That's right, Mr. Garadeb.
What is the matter with these two?
Sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident. But what?
Wish I knew.
Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on?
Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there even as we speak?
Yes, told me not his name, had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' service?
That's a lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around Mr. Natsume's room, I mean? Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more. Where is Sholmes? Oh, this is the room with the bricked up wall. Yep. Area. What? Just look at this place. Smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. Where does he sleep at? Is that where he sleeps, in that sack? I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me either. It's so dark in here, too. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think. Yes, once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere. Have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garrett told us, Great Detective should be around here somewhere investigating. I'm looking. Examine. Looking for him. I don't see him. Cat. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master's away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolored Mike, wasn't it? Do we even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan. That's made me feel homesick now. Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. It does seem to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit here and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done, wasn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of the purchase. Ah, 2 days ago, 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. It's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. Must have been on his way back from buying those old books. Right, got a receipt. Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty. With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you? No, what a dreamy idea. Bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the books that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again. Ah, so reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us. Certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that mannequin Nico all the way from Japan with him. I may have said that wrong, I'm sorry. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Nahodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. Not doing a very good job so far, is it? You mustn't say such things. And say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway?
Anything more over here? Could you even call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Well, all that remains is a frame around some bricks now. So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea. Aha! Perhaps Mr. Naruhodo painted the brick design on it in a fit of whimsy. Ugh, that's alarmingly feasible. Alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation here makes the place very oppressive. It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. Books. He's here now. What were you doing, Sholmes? I looked over here. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from? My favorite is still when he was hanging on the wall, on the light, on the wall in the boat. That was hilarious. He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you two, good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burra. Yes, of course, the Burra. And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Asagi. He died tragically, but you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asagi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it? Oh, well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered regularly by the great Sherlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, my dear madame, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior power of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. Ah ha 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 ha! I lose the first round. He is something else. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London, but some Scotland Yarders ambushed me on the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I saw the matter no more than 30 minutes. Though I apprehended Soseki-san in that short of amount of time, I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection, my past involvements a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of intimate wisdom, you know, from the adventuring child to study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. He must be an Irish, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have something extremely important question to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned. Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madame, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. Seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines. But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eyes while feigning ignorance. I assure you, I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It appears as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh, how?
I assure you, I have no recollection of accusing your stooping compatriots of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. Ah, a man seen fleeing. There was a number of books scattered on the pavement on the scene. From the book plates, I was quite able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there's a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you, but it was aggravating my facilities. That's why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing that I'm a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garadeb, a retired military man. It was the first time I'd ever met a soldier from the great British institution that is the services. It was the first time I ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service. Ah! I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great British Primer. And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standings of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standings. Sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary! As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundaries between the middle and lower class, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garadeb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow's hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstance of his case, I am yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost in what he means by saying. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab someone sooner or later. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. It's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. The window tax. Window tax? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means have inherited a sizable and costly family home, perhaps rapidly closed windows up, while the rich open windows here and there and everywhere in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. For some 40 years ago or thereabout, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see. Its squalid lodgings, such as these, for example, I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It appears so. I've done some digging and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is a little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remember that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on the ambition realized, and so promptly too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes? Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? Ah, my dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. There are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to have seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us. I can't say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I'm quite sure that the retired old army who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garadeb is? Mr. Sholmes said much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that's really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigation has uncovered nothing that would help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into the Mr. Garadeb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his books in the corner of the room. Yep, he's back to reading. Okay, let's go back up to Garadeb's room. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forget his name, still hard at work down there? Mr. Herlock Sholmes? Ah, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there. Jolly good show. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please. Uh-oh. Don't trust her. Now then, why don't you tell me more? What? Ah! For the umpteenth time, woman, if you watch that, what you're well doing. I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir. Ah, yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave if you'd be so kind. Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance. Not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourself. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out. Okay. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garadeb is hiding something. Since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging? You let me look in here? I think it's the same. It's the same. Let's see if we can talk to him one more time. Oh. Oh, Sholmes. Ah, what's he doing over there? You never know what he's gonna do. He hits you at the most unexpected time. Mr. Sholmes! Ah, we meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here? Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. Whatever were you doing over by the window? I am giving to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madame. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye to one's window at dusk is a prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, and one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of certain great detectives. Great mind. Wait, he's not talking about, is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Oh, we're gonna do one of his investigations. I love those. I do like those. He's funny. Do you mean Mr. Sholmes? There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes even see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. I think so. There's just enough time for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garadeb, though it would seem you are a military man of considerable distinguished service, your standing as landowner is most certainly not what one might call first rate. I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon. The first is that even as we speak, you're concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Huh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Huh? Mr. Naruhodo, look. Old man's broke out in a cold sweat. Unbelievable. It seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on. How could you possibly? How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. Ah! And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? There's a lot of broken stuff. Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Oh, I like these. The great deduction. The game is afoot. Nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garadeb, leads us directly to the answer. I was gonna say the lion, but it's not the lion. The true nature of the beast that has run rampage here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposed at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this pifle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling trends of the wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well... Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to beast's current whereabouts. By protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Ah! Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garadeb, at Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in the nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room wasn't an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lions prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. Okay. The aftermath. Now, Mr. Garadeb. It is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for the formal beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritable tangible. Your head weighs heavily on your shoulders. The pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amidst fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is a pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. Ah! 4 cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. And so you have no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rampage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? After the aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. Very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Ah. This time, madame, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wondering eye settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only to look at the tower of cakes. Ah! There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. So was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake. Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I am sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There's only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Okay. Now to figure out the truth. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle. What What's the matter, Mr. Jones? You're pouring scalding tea hot all over me. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garadab. I'm afraid I didn't notice. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too. Oh. Mr. Sholmes? Sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruto. What is it again? Well, your deduction just now. Do you really think a lion would have a fit inside a room of this size? Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth of all too often lies beyond the realm of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realm of common sense as well? But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garadeb and his maid would have been hurt or worse. Ah, that's where you're stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using the large cannon. I thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea. Ah, my dear Miss Susato, it occurred to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they're infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again. I had a feeling that was coming. A slight massage, Mr. Sholmes' deduction needs. You can do it. Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You don't even know whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe. Let us start again. From the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Okay. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might the beast take? Ah, for a man with military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garadeb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by the lion statue. I really didn't see the lion thing coming. No, but if you observe Mr. Garadeb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in the room. Yes, something with a very fierce nature. But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India. So what was it then? We must follow Mr. Garadeb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. Sad. What's this photograph? Appears to be from Mr. Garadeb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out his bride. Now, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. I wonder what happened. Probably not best not to delve too deeply here. Well, this is the lion statue Mr. Sholmes picked out. Yes, but I wonder. Perhaps if you did live with the lion, it would prove to be a rather sweet companion. I think that's like a mouse trying to tell his family that the cat around the house is sweet. I suppose it is a bit of a flight of fancy, isn't it? Anyway, the beast we're looking for is something else. Let's have a good look around. These are the shells for the cannon, are they? What a strange place to keep them. I imagine they have some significance to Mr. Garadeb from his time in the army. Ah, of course. He mentioned a battle to us before, didn't he? Do you remember? He said that he'd been shot in the knee. Perhaps it was one of those that hit him. Around that side that hit his knee, there'd be nothing left of it. Or Mr. Garradeb, for that matter. Mr. Shums has a Persian slipper. And this man has spent shells. Perhaps it's customary British to display, well, rubbish on the mantelpiece. Well, could be wrong.
Take that!
Probably wrong. Behind the lion statue on the mantelpiece, almost deliberately hidden from view, is a photograph. Though I have yet to examine it in detail, I can assure you that it holds the answer. Because I'm employed at an extremely advanced detection technique called jumping to conclusions, you see. That deduction was wanting in every way. Yes, I was wanting you to hear it. I'm quite proud of it. I find myself wanting never to have heard it. I'm quite pained by it. In fact, yeah, we got getting hit. Oh, sorry. I'll try again. Okay. Okay, come on. Let me skip. I can only turn so far is the problem. There's only a couple things that you can even click on is a problem.
Take that!
Well, let's see. What's wrong again? With their butter wouldn't milk accomplice the cannon. War isn't good for nothing. It brings only destruction. Something we must all strive to understand. That deduction was wanting in every way. Yes, I was wanting you to hear it. Okay. Alright, we only have like 3 more penalties. Oh, it's funny to hear the... Oh, we gotta run through the... What am I missing? I'm missing something, because I doubt it's the actual lion. Can I, like... I wonder if I could, like, flip it over. But no amount of cracks could hide that woman's plump form. I think powerful would be kinder than plump, Mr. Nahodo. Yeah, she certainly looks that. There's a lot of horsepower here. But something you don't want to upset, that's for sure. Oh look, have you noticed her wedding ring? It's very large, isn't it? Yes, that's an unusual design. It looks like some sort of embellished sunflower. This must have been when Mr. Garradeb was still in the army. He seems to be carrying his rather stout bride effortlessly and beaming a smile at the same time. I suppose he was very strong in his younger years. Hard to imagine now. He's as thin as a rake. I'm gonna go back for the moment. Can I look at the statue a little better? Perhaps if you lived with a lion, no. I really do think. Okay. Okay, we're gonna jump out and see. Is that right? It busted the glass this time. Okay. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by the newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this frame print pictures your wife, Mr. Garadeb. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and the note of considerable horsepower they must contain. Oh, indeed, surely any woman with such a powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late. The fact remains that the beast, which so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Garadeb. Ah! Oh, he's got a handprint on his face. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well, yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is. Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to Beast's current whereabouts. The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Mrs. Garadeb anywhere. But it seems as there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. Clue that this maid is trying to hide. Wonder where Mr. Garadeb's wife could be. Okay. That certainly does appear to be a circus handbill poking out of her pocket. Batty Circus currently performing shows in a park not far from here. You don't think? Surely Mr. Garadeb didn't sell his wife to the circus. Mr. Naruhodo, how could you even think such thing? I was only joking. Besides, I would have gone with, do you think he fed her to his pet lion? That's somehow worse. Okay, let's see what she has hidden around. Aha, nope, she is the wife. She's wearing a very large ring, look. Oh yes, a sunflower design with some rather nice embellishments. It's on the ring finger of her left hand, which means surely a wedding ring. Looks like it's on there for life too. I can't imagine it would slide off a finger of that size. That's something to think, Mr. Naruhodo, not to say. Do you know Mr. Garadeb's wife in the photograph? Very much like this one. A large sunflower design as well. Really? You have a great memory for these things. A large sunflower wedding ring. Quite a coincidence that they have the same ring, isn't it?
Take that!
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to Beast's current whereabouts. Ah! Sorry, 1 second. My chair just broke. Let me grab the spare one over here. 1 second. Finish this. Alright. Indeed it does. The fire band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garadeb's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garadeb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garadeb yourself. Oh my word! Pretending to be a maid, so they're considered more middle class, probably. Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmise, this is the wife. Yes, my Joan. Rather let herself go, you might say, but she was a... Ah! It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufferable means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? Insufficient maids. It's not right, I tell you. I was second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. Household cannot be considered worthy of society if it's employed no staff at all. Though, in my opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Garadeb has his wife working as his maid? Precisely, am I right, Mr. Garadeb? Only in company, obviously, but listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please. The raging wife of Mr. Garadeb. Soft. Now, Mr. Garadeb. It is plainly clear that you still have a deep feeling for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is a veritable tangible. Your head weighs heavily on your shoulders. The pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Mr. Shum's quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garadeb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. But Mr. Garadeb is standing here beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garadeb's pain is tangible, though. What could pose of his real what could that pose of his really signify? Well, it looked like he had a handprint on his head. Slap cheek. Yeah.
Take that!
Your head weighs heavily on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverance of the impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. I feel like the hand is like, print is upside down. She would have had to really slap him weird. Was you Madame Joan Garadeb? Well, yes. You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Ah. How the blazes... How did you work that out, man? Nothing skips the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. Keep your other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you the subject of such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garadeb to fly into a rage. We need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is the pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Didn't Mr. Trump say that the bills were all for the lion fodder? Yes, but now we can establish that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garadeb's wife. Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. What's this? Bookmark? Check it out. Uh-oh. Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look. Mr. Garadeb is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh, no, so it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand.
Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Uh-oh, that was the girl outside, I bet, that got stabbed. Look next to the signature here. Lip marks, made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any eyes, Susato-san. Oh dear, I'm sorry. This bookmark is actually a love note then. Okay.
Take that!
Why have they just left it sitting there for days, I wonder? Yes, it is this love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. Oh, she smacked him again. Ah! But I don't know the woman. You don't know her? That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got here. It was just in there, you say. That's right. That's what I've been saying. A likely story. Now listen here, Joe, whole thing. I explained at the time. I bought the book at that second-hand place, and that host must already have been in there. So the previous owner of the book was just using a note as a bookmark, you mean? That's right. That's what I've been saying. Likely story. For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you haven't forgotten, is John. Ah. A likely story. Are you questioning my name now? Oh. And there we have it. Arouse the suspicion of the female heart, and you unleash the beast with the most ferocious bite. Ugh. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out these unimaginable attacks. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearing me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madame, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wondering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Not the cake, it's probably the candle. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. But surely Mrs. Garrideb didn't eat the carpet. No, of course not. But there doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray in this room is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true. So, this is the last part of Mr. Shump's deductions that we need to fix. We need only to follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer. Alright, let's see what we can see. Yes. This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over. Oh dear, that would be dangerous. Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing. Yes, I didn't notice that before. Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of the three missing from its holder? Down there.
Take that!
Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of the ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed, they are. The scorch marks on the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks. It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garrideb's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused the candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight in the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, for the most ferocious beast in the world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful one, but fire.
And in this room, that ferocious beast bared his claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir. I salute you! Carpet scorched by a small fire. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good secondhand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my new novels there. My old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material. For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt... There we go again. And the carpet. Was that destroyed by the fire when a candle fell on the floor? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that could have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind the screen for the time being. Over there, Miss Garrett. Well, you have nothing more to hide now. If you'd love me. Had all my favorite old books in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in the smoke. Gosh. And the wife started hurling things at me. What a terrible sight it must have been. There was I, backed up against the window under heavy enemy fire, incendiary diary books incoming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it, I lost my favorite, book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? Ah, yes, your notorious love of big cats coming through again. I assure you the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage. Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was total carnage, flames everywhere, and the old stick is in full kettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was about 2 days ago now. Let's say around 5 o'clock, I think. So at exactly the same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding across your window on the street below. Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside by my window at that moment. I wouldn't have noticed a dash thing. Oh, really? Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Naruhodo? What can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garrideb's situation now, but what does that have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that, although I knew the retired army man was hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be relevant or not. I just knew you were going to say that. Ah ha ha ha. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of two categories, those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It's of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry. Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no. Is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. No more time to think. Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garadeb. Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you both very much for your time. Sasaki-san will be waiting for us. I'm going to have to give him an answer. I didn't choose Briar Road, did I? Say, Mr. Naruhodo, we must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a care. Oh. What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadeb's house. Who are you? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Who are you calling an old man? You rum-looking ninny-pinny? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of you and your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fella, huh? What are you on about? Excuse me. What the? Who are you now? I'm sorry, it just looks as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Rinosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. A lawyer? What? If I could be of assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I have studied English law. Fine, I'll be on my way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet. Get thee to nunnery. Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? Okay. I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you. Was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here in the Garadeb residency? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in the humble abode. Mr. Garadeb mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words, ne'er could there be. Sorry, battle did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I whispered long into the night. I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances, at least. So fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. Seems he's unaware of what happened to Mr. Natsume, so can't really help us. With Sasaki-san and the man and his lodgers, the Garadeb's house is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return. Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Oh, it's you! You're here! You came! Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back! I'm so touched! We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, far, never failing Nipponese. Oh, now let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There's nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand,
It is through friendship, transcending international borders, that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. Oh, it's yes, it's you. The miserable, rotten spy, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intent of doing anything per se. Save observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomy room, and having unmasked the certain identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our best friend is faring. Gloomyful room? At least your accommodations here offer a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is a superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight. It cost me not a penny. Ah, you! How dare you, Herlock Sholmes! I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was such a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is... Yep. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? He mentioned that once before, didn't he? His lodgings were cursed, I mean. There is much truth, Mr. Mustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say, for the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trials. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you just said now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed? Oh no, why are you looking so grave? You're making me more nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. Oh, I see. That really agitated him. You didn't mean the trial really is cursed somehow? Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey? The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize in succinctly in 16 salient words. There's a little bit of a tongue twister there. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. Oh my goodness, can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly. Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGill did. What? What? Ah, I'm impressed, Miss Susato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes? Surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zieg killed the man himself. Oh no, he couldn't have, surely. Ah ha 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 ha. You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Ah, of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth behind the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean by that? Van Zieks is quite an exceptional man. However, in London's court of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception. Ah, that's good. So Psyche-san looks like he's gonna cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in the British criminal trial, there's both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right? Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters at witnesses, and so on.
By such underhanded means, those who would want are unable to sway the jury, which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means that the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly, is from time to time, my dear madam, it is simply the reality of the situation. That's all right. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months they all disappear. It is most striking. Disappear? But how? Ah, by all manners of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Perhaps attacked by highwaymen. Oh, no, no, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. I knew it. I'm a dead dodo done for doomed. When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garradeb's house, I assume. You mean to say you believe that place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I've only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there was a foreign face staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn until dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even then, that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room at Briar Road a week ago now. Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money, it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. Then the Lord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it in the first place." Yes, well said. But it was true. It was all true. You mean the room really is cursed, then? Ever since I moved into that windowless room, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I wake feeling as though I've been choked to death. In my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really no one at all? To believe? Yes, to believe. Mr. Sholmes. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you? About the case on the SS Burra, if you recall. The Burra. Oh, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did. Did I? Interesting. What I want to know is why. Why did you believe me? I see, yes. You mean because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow was found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only thing I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What? What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
I make up my own mind about what it is to believe and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. Ah ha 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 ha. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning? Whether or not one should trust another is the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself. Yes, he's right. He's right! Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Whether or not I can believe in myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You were so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over, and the guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? Oh dear, there's never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume. If you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. As I said, I only experienced a bridge courtroom for the first time yesterday. Although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial? What to believe in, the defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I'll fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow. As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Miss Susato. Yes? Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind, but it's time to stop looking backwards. Cosmos believed in me, and Mr. Shumps believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Sasaki-san has no one. He's all alone, so it's my job to help him, to fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster, to be continued. All right, so we got another chapter here. Well, not the chapter, but another section done. I bet we go to court next time. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. I have. I always love these. For people people on YouTube, you'll get this same day. People on Twitch, there's going to be a little bit of a gap here because I did this one earlier than normal. Because I have plans going on this week. But we'll get back to it some point next week. And I hope you all have a great week. And I'll see you all next time in another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Bye, everyone.